915 Talk is a production of Desert Voice Media. You can visit desertvoice.media to learn more.
915 TALK.
The world is looking at El Paso.
What will we say to the world? From the KELP studio in El Paso, this is 915 Talk.
And now your host.
Good afternoon, beautiful citizens of the borderland. Our special edition of 915 Talk continues. And we're going to start talking about the part of our life that affects us, all of us, but is, I think, out of our control. And our guest today is no stranger to KELP listeners. And as a matter of fact, as soon as you hear his voice, he needs no introduction. If you're from El Paso, he's KVIA TV Channel 7 chief meteorologist, and he's a good friend of KELP. I think that's the main thing I want to say. But we're going to be talking about the historic side of the weather in 2025. So without further ado, let's give a very warm Borderland welcome to the one, the only, Doppler Dave Speelman.
All right.
Yeah.
Andy, hey, it's good to be with you again. It's been a while, and always good to talk to you and the KELP listeners. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's you have the best voice in the world, Doppler Dave. I mean, I love the weather reports, but I just feel reassured even when I think my house is going to blow over, because Doppler Dave knows about it and he's telling me what's about to happen. But this year has been historic.
Yeah, everybody's talking about the wind and dust, and my wife complains all the time because you're constantly cleaning the windowsills, you're lifting up the windows, and you have all that dust and sand. You're mopping the floor, you're just cleaning the porch. Whatever the case is, it's always just a big hassle. And it's been really historic, and I say kind of unofficially because I've talked to a lot of the old timers, a lot of farmers who have been here, 80 years, 75 years, and have asked them, because in my 25 years here, I've never seen anything like it.
Right.
So I talked to them and I said, hey, have you seen the spring with all the dust and sand? And they tell me no. They've never seen a spring like this. Now, the Weather Service, the data goes back to the late 1800s, but it's kind of hard to look at when you look at, how many dust storm warnings there were, because years ago they didn't issue dust storm warnings and that type of thing. But yeah, it's been a brutal March and April, and May is really no different. I mean, it's still been very, very strong. We have another big wind event next Tuesday and Wednesday with dust and sand coming our way. So yeah, it's been bad.
That's very disappointing news for our listeners. I don't know if you'll know right off the top of your head. I think the last time I was watching Channel 7 was maybe a week ago, roughly. And it was the number was something like, these wind events, normally we have 25 in a year and we've already had 23. Is that kind of where we're at?
Yeah, well, we normally get 22 in a year.
Oh, okay.
We've had 36. And when we say wind events, we narrow it down to wind at 30 plus miles an hour. That's considered windy.
Okay.
And so we've had 36 of those days, and then we kept track of dust storms where visibility is just terrible, where you really can't make out the Franklin Mountains or the Oregon Mountains, where visibility is just maybe about 5 blocks, 6 blocks or so. And we've had 13 of those days. So here we are in May, and usually May is a transition month. Where we start to see the dust storms and the wind events start to come down. May is more like a severe weather month as far as storms. And when we say that, we're talking about, anytime we have a strong storm, it likely could become severe with hail and that type of thing. So we already had one. When was it? Saturday night. My house got hit with hail. So that's typically, we transition from the wind and the dust in May to maybe some severe storms. And then June and July is really just our hottest months of the year. But yeah, the wind and the dust, it's coming back again. I think I'm going back to March and April. Those are usually our two windiest months.
Right.
And March I think we had 17 days of windy conditions. April was about 15. And so far we've had like six in the month of May already. So, and we'll add to that Tuesday and Wednesday.
Right. And then we'll have wind in the fall too, right, Doppler?
The fall is generally not is windy. We don't have a lot of the dust and sand as we have in the spring.
Mm-hmm.
But we can see, out of the severe weather months, we have May, and then later September, October is another month where if we see some storms, it could produce severe weather like hail. But the winds generally come down, and we do have some wind events, but it usually doesn't produce a lot of blowing dust and sand.
Right. And
Like
yeah, you posted, I believe, a photo of some of the hail next to some change, some coins.
Yeah.
And they were pretty good size, right?
Yeah, we had it was about nickel size hail. We always tell people if they get hail, to put a coin next to it because it's easy to measure it up. But so we had like really marble size, nickel size hail, and that typically doesn't do damage to roofs and cars. We always watch quarter size. That's an inch diameter hail. So anytime you have quarter size, that's going to do some damage to skylights, roofs, your cars, that type of thing. So we were kind of right on the edge, but I checked around the whole area and like, different car lots. And I checked Camping World because they saw the hail too. So they didn't report any damage. So, we were thankful for that.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, so with this year that's been really, really windy, it's is there a way to make it where the wind doesn't happen on trash day?
Yeah, you're right. It always seems like it comes on your trash day. That's always a problem.
Right, but we're faith-based radio, we're Bible-believing radio. There's this Bible verse that says the wind blows where it wishes and you hear it sound, but you cannot tell where it comes from or where it's going. Having said that, is there like a reason why we have so much wind this year?
Well, it's not necessarily. We've been a little bit above average. It's usually because of low pressure systems that travel through here. I mean, the spring is the time of year that, we have system changes, cold fronts, that move across the country, low pressures. Low pressure system is just basically like a big vacuum. It comes in here, it's rising air very quickly. And because it's been so dry here, and we have only had a half an inch of rain since January 1st. So we are well below average, but because we haven't had a lot of rain, it's very dry. And you couple that with no vegetation. I mean, the grass isn't growing, it's dry. We don't have a lot of vegetation growing. So that usually will hold down the dust and sand. And of course, the rain will do that too. But since it's been so dry, it's easy to pick up all the dust and sand and just kind of sling it across the country, at least across our area.
Okay, so that's interesting. I didn't realize this year was so dry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's we've even talked about the farmers getting irrigation water from the river. I mean, we get a lot of our moisture from or the water content from the mountains, from the snow up in northern New Mexico, southern Colorado, and it's been very bad for snowpack. So, even the water situation for farmers is terrible this year. So you couple that with the drought that's been going on and the snowpack, which is bad. It's just bad all around.
Right. And I believe it was on our previous conversation on 915 Talk. We were talking about how far can Doppler Dave see into the future as far as weather. I think we were talking about 2 weeks. Is that about right?
Yeah, I mean, we started a new segment on KVIA where we have a future track bonus 7 where we throw in an extra week of weather. We do that at the end of the 6 o'clock and 10 o'clock show, just to give people a look ahead,
Right.
But yeah, I mean, pretty much a week is pretty good. 2 weeks, not bad. It can change, obviously with winds and that type of thing and dust events, but at least a week is pretty good now.
Yeah. So I can't ask you yet when the winds are going to stop. I can't ask you what this summer's going to look like.
Well, we do have a long-term forecast we look at, and usually, once we get into the end of May, and especially into June, the winds come down. I mean, we don't usually have a lot of wind and blowing dust. So that being said, June is our hottest month of the year. That's usually when we see a lot of triple-digit temperatures. July is a very close number two with record heat, but it does look a little bit better. Last 2 years we had 55 triple-digit days last year. The year before we had 70. That was a record. That was number one. So this year looks like less heat and a little bit more moisture. So we're a little more optimistic about getting a little more rain and thunderstorms in here for the monsoon. So right now that's kind of how it looks.
So Doppler Dave, on a personal level, if you had to choose between less windy days and less triple digit days, which would you choose?
I don't mind the heat. I would say less wind events and dust. It's okay to have the wind, but it's just that, the combination of the dust and sand blowing around that just makes it terrible because, I get a lot of allergies. I don't know if you, a lot of people complain with the allergies, and they've had a record season so far this year. A lot of people going to get their allergy shots, and it seemed like they're going in a couple times a week just to try to handle their allergies. So that's another problem,
Yeah. So
I mean, we did a story. I did a story, I guess it's been about a couple of years ago, and we did a story about what's in the dust and sand that we breathe in. And we talked to a PhD guy from UTEP who studied that. He actually did his PhD on what's in the dust and the sand that we breathe in. And there's a lot of microorganisms, like eggs and stuff like that get lifted out of the Lordsburg playa. And, it's kind of a wetland, but it dries up, and you get, different creatures that lay eggs in there, and then they dry up, and that gets lifted in the air, and it gets, brought from Lordsburg and Luna County and brought here. And we breathe a lot of that junk in. And it was interesting. He showed me in the microscope the stuff that we breathe in, and it's really pretty gross. And so it's good when we have these dusty days. Like we always tell people, stay inside if you can, or wear a mask. Because you don't want to be breathing all that stuff in.
Right. So the headline is Lordsburg microorganisms in El Paso's nostrils. Yeah. Is there? Do you have any other hot tips other than stay inside and wear a mask? Is there anything else we could do, Doppler Dave?
I think that's, if you can stay inside on those dusty days, I mean, it's kind of like a severe weather day. I mean, it's better just to hunker down and wait for all the dust and sand to settle than to go out there and breathe it in and that type of thing. I even noticed, because usually I go up to our weather deck on top of our roof when we have dusty days, right? The weather guy's always got to be in the storm. And I go up there, and and even though I'm only up there for, I don't know, about 3-4 minutes, I can feel it when I come back inside. I start hacking and blowing my nose, and so it doesn't take long,
right?
Once you're out there.
That's how you get that hazard pay.
Right.
Yeah, let's switch gears here for a moment. I for the first time in my life, experienced an earthquake where I felt it. Was that just last week? I think it was.
It was.
Yeah, and I was. It was 7:45, 7:50 p.m. Yeah. I was sitting in bed reading a book, and I had always thought that when there's an earthquake, that it would be like a vibration, but the bed was swaying, and it blew my mind. I went running out, and my son was in the living room, and the ceiling fans were swaying, the whole thing, and there was an earthquake. Is that something that's becoming more common?
Yeah, I was with my son, and we were at a pizza place here in El Paso, and we were sitting there, and I felt it too, and I looked at my son. I said, "You feel it?" He goes, "Yeah, we had earthquake." And then people in the restaurant were, looking around, and they were getting on their phone and calling their family, seeing if they experienced it too. But yeah, I'm not a big earthquake expert, but what I've been told is it's because a lot of that fracking going on for oil, right? So, that makes us more susceptible to seeing some of those earthquakes. But it was a 5.3, which typically, we'll see 4s, maybe a 5. So, it was for this area, fairly significant.
Right. Yeah. I firmly believe, Doppler Dave, that the only stupid question is the one that's left unasked. Yeah. Do earthquakes affect weather?
No, not really. I mean,
Not
it's
really.
just, no,
It
no,
doesn't create a high pressure event or anything
no,
like that.
no.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just, the ground and who's ever on the ground.
Okay. Well. Now I know. I had to ask Doppler Dave.
Yeah. No, sure. That's a good question, actually.
Right. Okay. So we have these winds, we have earthquakes, but this summer, Doppler Dave just said, I think we got a quote that this summer won't be as hot as the previous two. Can we can we
can't
put that in
imagine.
stone, Doppler Dave?
Yeah. I can't imagine we'll hit 50 triple-digit days. I mean, that's just that was just crazy. After coming off of 70, a record, and then we go down to 50. I mean, which is still a lot. We average 23, 24 in a given year, but I think we won't see as many. Now, I think we'll see above average. I think we'll probably hit about maybe 30, 35, something like that. But I don't think it's going to be what we've seen the last couple of years. And then the storms, the rain, that could be another issue where I think we'll get a little bit more this year. So I think it's kind of good news all the way around.
Right. Yeah. Well, the big reason I'm asking is because I live in an adobe house, which is great, with a swamp cooler. But my wife has been pushing for central air. And I've learned as long as we stay under triple digits, that swamp cooler gets the job done. As soon as we hit the triple digits, we become very unhappy. So
yeah, well, in the humidity, I mean, that's really what kills you.
Right.
Is when we get the the moisture just kind of hangs around, which is usually we get into July, August, September. Those are the big months where the swamp coolers just don't work very good. But
Right.
Yeah, but a lot of people still have a swamp cooler, so
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll let her know. Doppler Dave said we can stick with the swamp cooler till next year. I keep on putting it off till next year. So
Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah. It's I mean the good thing about the refrigerated air obviously is it's cooler, but you don't waste as much water and that type of thing. So it's
right.
But they're expensive. Let's face it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Doppler Dave, I really appreciate the conversation. I know the whole community is watching. I always enjoy turning on Channel 7 whenever I have an opportunity and just getting the lowdown on what's about to happen. For the one thing that we can't control but affects all of us. So really appreciate your voice in this and giving us some insight.
Yeah, no problem, Andy. Always good to be with you guys and the KELP audience. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah. Well, thanks again, Doppler Dave. And as we always say, let's learn to love our city, love our neighbor, and give God all the glory. This has been 915 Talk. You have been listening to 915 Talk, a production of Desert Voice Media. In order to listen to previous editions of 915 Talk, just visit desertvoice.media. Let's learn together to love our city, love our neighbors, and give God all the glory.